Let's explore this further now with Black Management Forum President Andile Nomlala. Mr. Nomlala, thank you so much for your time this evening. Have you received any response from the Minister or Treasury?
Good evening, Bongiwe, and thanks for having me. First of all, we haven't as yet, and I'm sure we will receive feedback. In fact, I have a standing meeting with the Finance Minister in Cape Town sometime this week. So I will have a direct conversation with him about the matter. But I just want to state it out clear that the message or the letter we wrote directly to National Treasury, which is the DG of National Treasury, Zondo, where we asked in the for the central supplier database system that had tender irregular people that are listed there. We're asking that it will be prudent and proper, considering that we are still uncovering the catastrophic disaster that the state capture had done in our country, to ensure that the companies that are remotely or directly or closely linked to the state capture be, at least for now, be put on suspension from participating in the state tender processes. One is that we know that there's still going to be legal processes that would unfold as per the recommendation of the ACJ, Zondo. But we can't wait for those legal processes if we're serious about corruption. We really need to be seen to be acting, and we really need to make sure that we act appropriately. The issue here is that if you leave these entities, it's not just Swissport, by the way, there are bigger multinational companies, SABC, ABB, all of them, Bain and others that were implicated in the state capture, and they are actually at the center of what happened with the state capture, with their activities that were shown as presented by evidence at the Zondo Commission, that they directly and improperly benefited on state procurement. It doesn't matter for us whether they've returned the money. That is neither here nor there. In fact, it's actually an insult that they have even gone out to admit, which is, we accept that they must admit they are guilty. But I mean, paying R1 billion back doesn't mean anything when that R1 billion could have been sent to a hospital, and there are people who have died since the R1 billion didn't go at the time it was sitting in their bank account. So we're saying that for the president and the country and the ruling party to show the signs that they are interested in acting in corruption and trying to get rid of the scourge of corruption, they must seriously take decisive actions about all the entities and individuals that are implicated. We know that the legal process will take forever to find guilty people or not guilty people, but for now, we must be seen to be acting.
And one of the things, that you say there is quite important, because the president at, the back of the first part of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry's report said that, the government was still going to formulate a response only at the end of the three parts, which we're expecting the last part to be handed over in February. At the same time, the ANC also setting up a committee that is going to be guiding it in terms of how it should implement these particular recommendations. Does it appear as if there's a dragging of feet here?
No, we don't even want to suggest that as yet, Bongo, because I'm sure the president has to deal with many other issues. But what we are calling for in the meantime is that whilst the processes are unfolding and the ACJ has made pronouncements that are damning against these companies, it's only proper and prudent to just say, Swissport, for now, you're not going to participate in an AXA tender. SAB, we know, is highly institutionalized in our own state departments and government departments across the country, state-owned and government departments across the country. But there must be consequences, Bongiwe, for people who have come all the way from Germany, US, and other countries, including, by the way, the foreign nationals that have since left our country, which we know that all their companies have since been blocked from doing business with the state. But we must be consistent. We must cut the Guptas. We must cut every other person who is proven that beyond reasonable doubt, that actually at the highest echelons of those companies, the people like Bain were directly involved and they were aware in the wrongdoing that they were doing in our country. And we know that in their own jurisdictions where they come from, they wouldn't do such behaviors. But they come here and they are still treated with kids' gloves. They must be put aside, and we must put other businesses. We don't discourage foreign direct investment, but we don't want foreigners who are criminals who come and crook our system with clandestine business dealing. That we must make it very clear.
And let's then, shift gears slightly because we don't have a lot of time. But one of the things that I also saw the Black Management Forum also doing is to rally behind Justice Meyer's recommendation by the Judicial Service Commission. Some have said in the public domain that the interviews were a sham, they were shambolic, they should have not been even conducted. Some are even calling for them to be redone. But when you really look at her interview, you can also even see that she was also asked about some very serious matters when it comes to transformation. I wonder what are your thoughts on what is happening in the public discourse around this particular process?
In fact, Bongi, we did indeed issue a statement. Our position is very simple, and people must not start being indigenous about some of these things. Remember, the president, when he was making an NPA appointment, he followed a not so-called usual process where he called for a public process that was then followed by highly acclaimed individuals that conducted interviews publicly. And we saw that, and we saw how then it culminated to the outcome of the NPA had to have. Now, people cannot all of a sudden, when the president has demonstrated before that his approach is not going to be, because he's empowered by the Constitution, is not going to be to just single-handedly appoint people. Even though he has the powers, he then adopts a similar approach that we think is correct, that there must be a public scrutiny. When we were listening as the ordinary folks of the public to those interviews, we saw the quality of all four of them. By the way, we don't have any problem with all four of them. But for the BMF's call is very simple. We say that fortunately this time around there's an highly qualified, highly acclaimed black female professional whom we believe that at any case, by virtue of her credentials, she would be a suitable fit for being a Chief Justice. And forget that she's a female, forget anything else. By her own law virtues, she is capable, she is ready. We saw, all of us, that she's equal to the task. Then the president must be deliberate to then drive the transformation agenda even in the judiciary. And the precedents, this will set, if we have a female Chief Justice, it could also make people to believe that sooner rather than later we would even have a female president. Now, we don't know why people all of a sudden would bemoan the process that the president has demonstrated before, that he is that type of a guy who consults and who wants consensus on decisions. He done that at the NPA, he's doing it now, and people didn't question it before the interviews takes place. Now that their preferred candidates are not recommended, they're starting jumping up and down. But by the way, the president still has a right to appoint any other person that he prefers from the list that he has submitted. But if he doesn't appoint the recommended person, then he would have to prove to us, particularly the BMF, why does he have to take a decision to deviate? Because we saw the candidate. We believe that the candidate is what we call the typical black management forum manager, which is a person who is above the rest when it comes to capability, credentials, and credibility and ethical standing. So we're very happy with Justice Meyer for her to come to the fore and lead our country with the confidence that she portrayed to the future and better horizon.
All right, Andile, thank you so much for that. That's Black Management Forum President Andile Nomlala.